Thank you very much. I just noticed, I always knew that the Interactive Science Museum was here, but I didn't realise that the Interactive Maths Museum was over there in the Rainbow Casino. I just saw somebody tweeted that there is although it was quite an amusing tweet, that there is in Clevedon, there is a placebo science march happening at this time, which I guess is what you call a crowd control group. Yeah, as Chris said, I was born in Somerset, so I travelled up from London today. I met somebody who flew down from Aberdeen, so thank you for all coming together from far and near. My grandfather came to Somerset in the 1930s, and my parents came here in the 1950s, and then I was born here and I grew up here, and so I love the Southwest. It's because it was such a lovely home for us when we moved here, and it's where I grew up and became a nerd. So I was very happy to drive down this morning and be part of the Bristol Science March. And I was going to talk about pure science because, as Chris explained, I've written about pure mathematics and pure physics and so on. But I thought I'll come back to that at the end. But before that, I thought I'd just talk about what happens if you don't have science. What happens in the absence of science, and to try and demonstrate what happens in that situation, I wanted to do a little experiment, which I've done before, but not outside and with so many people, so we'll give it a go. Alexis is going to play some music for us, which you'll all recognise. Here we go. It's Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. So you'll all recognise that tune, you'll all have heard it hundreds of times before, but what we're going to do now is play it for you backwards, okay? So Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, lasts about 10 seconds, and Alexis is going to play it for you now backwards. Okay, so the question is, hands up if you heard the word Satan in there. Oh, great. Got a few dozen people heard the word Satan, that's great. Could we click to the next slide, please? Hands up if you heard the words, "Here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path would make me sad, whose power is Satan. He'll give you 666. There was a little tool shed where he made us suffer, sweet Satan." Hands up if you heard all of that. Just me, right. Okay, so in a minute, not quite yet, but in a minute, in a second, Alexis is going to play that music for you again. And this time, I'm hoping everyone is going to hear every single one of these words, okay? And I make you two promises. My first promise is we are not cheating. I promise you we're just playing exactly what you've heard. It's literally the same sound file on the computer. So first of all, no cheating. Second, you are going to hear all of these words, okay? So here we go, Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, backwards, the way you all just heard it, but this time you're all going to hear all of these words. Alexis, over to you. Hands up if you heard it that time. Oh, fantastic, that's such a relief. Thanks, Joe and Alexis, for making that happen. That was technically not an easy thing to do. But I wanted to do it because it's incredible. You hear it the first time, and most people hear nothing. You play it a second time, and I think pretty much everyone in the square heard an entire coherent paragraph about Satan and his tool shed. And what's happening is that quite clearly there is nothing there. It's a song played backwards, and if you play it backwards it's nonsense. So the first time, if you heard nonsense, that was reality. But the second time I played it, I showed you the words. I said you will hear these words. I compelled you to hear these words. And our brains have evolved over the last 100,000 years, million years, to find patterns, to look out for patterns. And if I give you an expectation, if I give you a bias or a prejudice, your brain, our brains, actively seek out those words, and our brains trick us into hearing something that's not there. And that's what just happened. All of our brains tricked us into hearing something that wasn't there because we had an expectation. Sometimes our brains can trick us into hearing something that's not there. Sometimes they can trick us into seeing something that's not there. Sometimes they can trick us into believing something that's not true. And for me, that's why science is so important, because without science, if all we have is our expectations and our prejudices and our five senses, then we can believe all sorts of nonsense. And it's only with the tool of science that we take a step back. We do experiments, we develop theories, we test them, we argue, we become objective. And that's our only way of trying to get closer to the truth. We never get quite to the truth, and that's why we need more experts, as other people have said. We need experts to debate and argue and get us closer to the truth through the scientific method. And that's something that politicians need to understand. When they develop their policy, they need to develop it on evidence. We talk about evidence-based policy. Scientists don't dictate the policies, but they provide the evidence, and politicians should not ignore that evidence. They need to take it into account and acknowledge it before they move on. So I just wanted to, I said at the beginning that my background is really in pure science, and that's kind of what I love, and I thought I'd just end with a light story about pure science. And some of you may have heard this before. I've mentioned it before when I've spoken. I was in fact in Bristol just 2 weeks ago and spoke about this. So just a nice little story to end with about pure science. I'd written a book called Big Bang, all about the history of cosmology and who came up with the Big Bang Theory, why do we think it's true, what's the evidence, crucial word, to support the Big Bang Theory. And while I was writing the book, towards the end of the book, there was a song on the radio that I heard by Katie Melua, and the song's called 9 Million Bicycles. And this still makes me angry today, because she's implying that the universe is 12 billion years old. It's not, it's more like 14 billion years old. She says no one can ever say it's true. She says it's just a guess. In science, we don't make guesses, we make careful measurements. She says no one can ever say it's true, but in science we always try and get closer to the truth. And then she says, but I know that I will always be with you. At this point, I can't trust a word this woman says. So I wrote an article for The Guardian about this. And the point of the article, it was just really an opportunity to write an article about how incredible science is. That we're tiny animals with small brains on this little planet, and we look up into the universe, and with maths and science and technology, we know so much about the universe. And we should really celebrate it. We should kind of try our best to get it right. And then, at the end of the article, just for fun, I rewrote the lyrics. And they're not perfect, but Alexis, can you put up my version of the lyrics? My version was, we are 13.7 billion light years from the edge of the observable universe. That's a good estimate with well-defined error bars. And with the available information, I predict that I will always be with you. So, and people seemed to like the article, and that was great. What was even better was that the next day, the phone rang, and it was Katie Melua. Turns out that she's one of us. She loves science. She was a member of the astronomy club when she was at school, and there's a solar telescope over there. If you get a chance to look at that before you leave today on March, have a look at the solar telescope. But she loves astronomy. She read the article, she got the joke, and we met up the next day at the BBC, and she re-recorded her song using my lyrics. So I will leave you with this, hopefully demonstrating all of our loves of science. This is Katie Melua singing her song, but with my lyrics. Over to you, Alexis.
We are 13.7 billion light years from the edge of the observable universe. That's a good estimate with well-defined error bars. And with the available information, I predict that I will always be with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.